Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a great Christmas period. I'm feeling very festive, as you can tell by my 10-year-old jumper. Um, it's about 5 days before the big day, so I hope you all had your Christmas parties. I've had mine, and then I had the whole week of work off afterwards, so if I did do anything dumb, hopefully everyone's forgotten about it by now. But otherwise, to keep it all upbeat with the Christmas spirit, we're going to talk about World War Three. So, if you like these sort of conversations, please do like the video, do subscribe, do comment to help the algorithm. I am fighting an uphill battle here against YouTube because the stuff I'm talking about is not the stuff that they're going to promote. So if you do like it, please do like it and yeah, interact with me. I'm really nice, as you can tell. But otherwise, we'll get straight into it. So, why are we talking about World War Three? Well, in the last week, we've had conversations like this happen. So, we need more people ready to fight, military chief says. So, the UK needs more people ready to fight for their country as the nation seeks to deter a potential confrontation with Russia, the head of military has said. So, that straight away, we've got a few alarm bells in there. Firstly, be ready to fight for their country. Well, Russia's not really in a position at the moment to come and invade and take over. So I don't think it would be fighting for our country. Um, that's a problem. Second thing, the new head of MI6, she has said that warned the frontliners everywhere as the UK faces a new age of uncertainty and everyone must step up to the Russian threat of wider war. So, why are these two people all of a sudden now telling people, oh, you have to be ready for war? Because remember, when you say to somebody, be ready for war, that's a very serious thing. Wars are absolutely terrible. And I'll be honest, every war that Britain sort of ends up in is usually quite a big one. Apart from Falklands, because, well, yeah, we battered them very quickly. So, reason for that is simple. Ukraine, since February 2022, has been essentially at war with Russia. Russia calls it a special operation, but let's be honest, it's a war. Russia attacked Ukraine, got right up to Kiev, and was ready to actually sign a peace deal, smash and grab. But then Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK at the time, flew over and encouraged Volodymyr Zelensky to keep going, saying, the West is behind you, you can do this. Essentially creating a proxy war, the EU against Russia. Um, since then, we have found out some very disturbing things. Mainly, the American Democrats have a lot of business interests in Ukraine. Wink, wink, Hunter Biden. So, looking at that, you're sort of wondering whether keeping Ukraine at war with Russia is actually in Ukraine's best interest, or if it's just the EU and America's way of trying to bleed Russia a bit. Probably the latter. So at first, I was very pro Ukraine. You've been attacked. You know, do what you can. But as time goes on, and sort of like the ability to have peace and things have kind of come and gone, it's just going to be dragging on. And at the end of the day, what it just seems to be is NATO is giving all its old equipment to Ukraine and then getting it replaced with newer, shinier stuff, as just to kind of make the most of the situation. No one does anything for free. Okay, remember that. So yeah, my position, I reckon they should have peace by now. They should have had peace like a year ago at the very least, but that's it. But the EU is trying to keep this war going and going and going. There's a lot of money to be made in war, and as I said, it's trying to bleed Russia. Now, in recent months or even last year, when there was peace talks, Keir Starmer, Granny Harmer, um, he floated the idea of having British troops in Ukraine as a sort of peacekeeping organisation. Russia said no to that. I think the British people were saying no to that. So, yeah, a bit strange why he's so determined to get boots on the ground in a freezing war zone. But hey, who am I to judge? So, just a few problems then when if it does come to a war. The thing I'm focusing on is the British people and the willingness to fight. So, first things first. Imagine you're a British bloke, because it's going to be the blokes, let's be honest. Um, well, you've seen this in my other video, so I'm just going to show you again. The RAF diversity targets discriminated against white men. So, initiatives to increase numbers of women and people of ethnic minorities in the RAF led to unlawful positive discrimination, an inquiry has found. I did a video on this. It's my DEI one. Please go to my channel, go give it a watch, give it a like. But essentially, anyone with 2 brain cells will know if you have a country and you have an army, the main recruitment pool of that army is the indigenous men. 2 reasons for that. Reason number 1, men are more prone to join the army. It's because of the, I don't know, bloodlust that we have. It's just, let's just be honest. I don't need to explain it. If I do, then you're a moron. Second reason, the indigenous part. People who are part of a country have more to fight for. If I moved over to another country, I don't know, let's say Thailand. Don't know why I thought Thailand, but let's say Thailand. And they asked me, oh, hi, would you mind joining our army? We're about to go to war with Cambodia or somebody. I don't know. I'm going to say not really, because there's nothing really for me to fight for. When you go to war, there's an extreme chance you'll die, get maimed, PTSD, horrible side effects of war. I'm not going to do that just, for a crappy paycheck. I want to, if I'm going to go fight for my country, there's going to be a reason for it, usually a defensive reason. Someone's aggressing on you, you fight back. If you're being aggressive, it's mainly because they're about to do something or they have done something, yada, yada, yada. So, when you sort of make it harder to recruit the indigenous men of your country, you are literally cutting off your knees when it comes to your army's capability, because that's your bread and butter. That's where the bulk of the army comes from. If you look at the British Army, I don't know, I'm going to assume they're mostly going to be white men. Apparently that's obviously not good for DEI, and that's, bad for their targets, but that's just the way it is. You go to any other country, any army, throughout history, it's always going to be indigenous people and then men. So that's the first thing. So in the UK, we've been hamstringing ourselves of our main source of recruits. The second thing, this has come out very recently, but I'll go into a bit more. Boys to be sent on courses to tackle misogyny in schools. So for the last, 10, 15, 20 years, if you listen to any feminist, you've always heard about toxic masculinity, rape culture. Basically, men are bad. And especially in Western civilized countries, they're saying, oh, yes, you men are terrible. Stop mansplaining to me, all this nonsense. So you've got a country, and you're literally encouraging the men to not have their masculinity, to not have those sort of traits that you would expect to see in men. So essentially, we're making our men to soy boys. Okay, so imagine we just went to war, 100 British guys against 100, Azerbaijanis, again, another country. If our boys have been too busy going on DEI courses and applying makeup to their face, but the Azerbaijanis have been, busy working out and, fighting and practicing, they'd batter us in, in a hand-to-hand fight. So we've been sort of engineering our men, our soldiers, to be pussies at the end of the day. So that's the second problem. The third problem that we'll have to see is the willingness to fight. So as I mentioned, if you're going to go fight for your country, you've got to be willing to do it. For king and country, defeat the enemy, all that jazz. At the moment in the UK, we have a very big problem with migration, especially illegal migration. You've got all these fighting age men coming into this country, and because they come from cultures that don't really appreciate the way that we treat our women here, we're getting lots of cases of women being assaulted, killed, all that lovely stuff. You imagine trying to say to somebody, right, can you go over to Ukraine? Don't worry, the police who've always looked the other way and won't be investigating this, and if they do investigate it, the judges will give these perpetrators lenient sentences. You just leave your family with us to look after them. No. So those are the 3 problems you've got. A, we've been hamstringing ourselves by not recruiting our indigenous men. B, the indigenous men in our country, we've been feminizing and turning into little pussies. And 3, you want me to leave this country to then and leave my family unprotected, because let's not beat around the bush. All those migrants that we've got in our country, they won't be conscripted. they might be called up to fight and say, "Oh, sorry, can you come?" They'll just say no, and it's not like the army's going to go into Birmingham and try and grab them, because they're too scared to go into these ghettos and no-go areas, aren't they? So, but I'll happily grab the white people. They'll come to my house and say, "Yep, you're coming. If you don't like it, what, you go to prison?" Personally, I'd rather go to prison. I might get stabbed in prison, but at least it might not kill me. So that's it. So those are the three problems that we've got with the army at the moment. We're not recruiting people. We're not recruiting the right people. Sorry, we're pussing them up, and nobody wants to go fight in a foreign land and leave our family behind. Now, I do have an associate. I'll call him an associate in my WhatsApp chat with my friendship group, and every time something happens overseas, he's always like, "Ha ha ha." You guys, well, he's in the armed services. Sorry, I should have mentioned. He's like, "Ha, get ready to be conscripted. Like, you're going over there. Like, when it all kicks off." And it's like, okay. I thought that's BS. So I looked into it and I asked Grok, is conscription in the UK, actually legal? Grok came back with an actual answer saying it's not currently in effect. Obviously, it's not in effect. It was abolished in 1963 with no active legislation enforcing it since then. The Civil Contingencies Act of 2004 explicitly bars the use of emergency regulations to impose military service, but this does not apply to standard acts of parliament. Conservatives mentioned about bringing back national service, but that's like late teenagers. But otherwise, at the moment, conscription is not legal unless brought in by an act of parliament. Right. Let's pretend for a moment the UK has a very, very socialist government with a supermajority in the House of Parliament. Not that hard to imagine, I know. Now imagine there's this sort of globalist elite who are bringing in all these migrants from Asia and Africa. They're trying to muddy the waters of your culture, and the one thing getting in their way is the indigenous men standing up for their own culture and their own values. If you're Joseph Stalin, there's a very easy way to get rid of him, and he did. Obviously, the Western leaders won't do that because that's just too obvious. So what else could they do? Well, they could get us into a war with weapons of mass destruction to the point that, barrages and trenches and foxholes are going to be absolute nightmares. And then send all the indigenous men over there. And as I mentioned, with this socialist supermajority in the House of Parliament, you getting an act of parliament through will be no problem for them. They're already bringing in digital ID nobody wanted. They're getting rid of elections. What's an act of parliament to conscript your main opponents? And the people, and there's no consequences for them, because the people that would rebel against them, they're about to ship them off to a war zone. So problem solved, really. So essentially, in a nutshell, this is why I just wanted to talk about it. When they say we need more people ready to fight, my simple answer to that is not in your wildest dreams, because you have made absolutely sure out of your way that you haven't recruited British men into your armed services, or if you have recruited them, you've put them down at the bottom of the list for promotions, for medals, anything like that. You have basically spat on them in terms of their career progression. You've also villainized them at every point, saying they're part of a rape culture, calling them their masculinity toxic, and just going out of your way to make sure that you're letting British men know you hate them. And then lastly, you're bringing in all these migrants. You're just letting them run rampant. And if any British people want to stand up and say no, this isn't right, you put them in prison for tweets, and you arrest them for going to peaceful protests even when they've done nothing wrong. So, in a nutshell, if this ever does happen, if a war does kick off, I'm not actually worried about the war itself, because that I'll just be vaporized in 2 seconds. I haven't got to worry too much about that. It's what's going to happen afterwards, because the British men of this country aren't going to put up with that. They put up with a lot, but for that main reason, you're asking us to leave our loved ones behind to go fight a war that we don't believe in, and have our families protected by a police service that is completely inadequate to look after them, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. So, yeah, nice fun one. Thanks very much for that, guys. Just thought I'd get that off my chest. If you liked having this conversation, please do like it. Please do subscribe. And yeah, if you've got a comment about any of this, if you'd be willing to go to the war, if you'll be happy to say, actually, no, I'm going to stay here, thanks, stick it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, I'm just shouting into the void and hope that somebody listens. Otherwise, as I said, it's the Christmas time, so I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. I'll be releasing more videos in the meantime, but otherwise, guys, have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.